Okay, we're ready.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order then. Good to see everybody. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the approval of the agenda and order of business, and I'm adding 6.2B in there.
Yes.
Yes. And I know we have public input and that. Yeah. And is there any other changes?
Just two brief things. I'd like to add Chester Basin signs
Yeah.
and just the noise bylaw. Just some comments. Three.
And I have one thing, Alan, I'd like to add, if possible.
Yeah.
I just have a little discussion that we made with the RCMP, to forward something to the RCMP
Okay.
with similar concerns,
Okay.
other than noise, but yeah. Okay.
Anything else? Somebody want to move the approval of the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, the motion is carried. Public input, Nash.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Annette Collicutt, and I reside at 7392 Highway 3 Martins River. And there's a property next to us owned by Eagle Beach, which is 7360 Highway 3 Martins River. And on August 20th, 21st, 27th, and 28th, from approximately 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., they were sandblasting large sea cans, 12 hours a day. No tenting, no PPE gear. So I contacted Alan Weber, I contacted Tina, I contacted Abdella, I contacted Daniel Barkos, I contacted the MP's office, contacted Department of Environment, which coincidentally on the weekend sent you to Canadian Coast Guard in Montreal, which is convenient. Heard back from Department of Environment, and they advised that sandblasting, abrasive sandblasting is not really part of what they worry about. There's no specific regulations or anything regarding that. So they did suggest that we contact Department of Environment, Labor and Advanced Education, Occupational Health and Safety, and they have opened up a case because the individuals doing the sandblasting weren't wearing proper PPE gear. So they're investigating. We don't know. We also know that there was a permit applied for by Eagle Beach regarding a temporary tent erection. Brent Haas was there last Tuesday. He would have seen the evidence of the sandblasting. He will not give any information regarding what he found or what is going to take place because he's waiting to hear back from the company in regards to what their future plans are. Our concern is we have video. There was a lot of toxic dust floating, not only on our property, but the surrounding area. Martins River is very close, and this went on for 4 days in high winds. So there's potential for toxic particles in Martins River, which is a waterway. And when something like this happens, you don't know who to call. And we're wondering if council, if they are able to have someone compile the information for contacts for the Department of Environment, Department of Labor, because obviously you guys would be able to get contacts easier than someone like myself to have them. So at least you could make one phone call and have access to some information. And the other thing that we're concerned about is, are you able to do more regular inspections for commercial properties that have this type of open area that are involved in marine type operations that potentially are dealing with sea cans? Because if the building inspection perhaps would have been done earlier, because the permit was applied for back many months ago, maybe they would have been advised that they shouldn't be doing this, but it's done now, the damage is there. But it seems to be a big concern, but no one seems to be able to tell me who can do what or if there's anything available for this.
Okay. I don't know the answer to that. I didn't know that they had even applied for a permit for a
Yeah,
tent.
we'd have to get staff. I'd have to get staff.
Yeah, and I was told by the building department that it was an application for a temporary tent,
Structure, yeah.
but they poured a permanent cement slab. So as a person not in construction, if you're taking the time and the money to pour a permanent cement pad, that doesn't seem like a temporary operation. to me.
No, it may be temporary, but they'll be temporary. more
It'll be
time.
temporarily for a long time.
More than once,
Long
yeah.
time.
yeah.
Now, we have been advised that the individuals that actually did the sandblasting are employed by Trident Marine, who is owned by Marcus Chasson, who resides on Tank Walk.
Yeah,
He has since been his contract has been canceled with Eagle Beach. But again, we're not sure if he has any permits or anything that's operational. And I know he's caused a lot of problems for DOT and harbors and fishermen, but so now he seems to be spreading his joy to other areas.
yeah. Well, they wouldn't get permits from us for that particular type of stuff. You know, it's only the buildings themselves. It's not. Yeah, and a list of who to contact. Well, that's never a simple matter. I can tell you that.
No,
Half the
no.
time I don't know who to call.
No, I know,
You know.
but yeah,
And when you did call me, I called Danielle and told her to call you. And I,
she didn't until I called her back.
oh, was that-
Yeah, and she told me that it was great that I called her to vent, but she didn't know anyone at the Department of Environment, didn't know anyone to call, and
oh,
wished me well.
okay. Well, I knew it was provincial and it was not mine. But I think we can probably come up with a list.
But in the bylaws, there is a section, this particular property is rated zone general, and in your bylaws, it specifically says that operations cannot be detrimental to the environment. That's in your bylaws as council, so.
And that's zone general basic, I think.
General basic, yeah, which.
So
allows-
that was my question is so are they general basic is light or heavy
Commercial.
industrial, commercial?
Yeah.
But they still have to follow
But not.
health,
detrimental.
health, yes.
Regulated, but those aren't ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Derek had his hand up first, so.
I was gonna ask that question, like, just to go on from there. There has to be something in our bylaw somewhere. Someone mentioned earlier the noise bylaw. I mean, what was, I know the environmental issue, but what about the noise?
Oh, it was incredible. We just basically either sat in the house and turned the TV loud or left. And it was 12 hours, because it was
For 4 days?
for 4 days. And it only happened on the weekends
Does
because,
your video have the sound?
now we only took 2 minutes because we weren't,
What time of the day?
it started at 7 AM. They arrived at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
They're allowed to do it on Saturdays and Sundays at 6:30 in the morning.
Almost 7 AM. you said.
7 AM.
Okay, so they can start. at
7 till
exactly-
11, I think.
Okay.
But is there, how do we define, and maybe this is a discussion you're going to have on something else, when we get into noise. And it seems that this shouldn't be allowed to happen. And it's happened, okay, but if it happens again, there has to be something we can do to nip it in the bud.
Well, our noise bylaw is from 7 to 11.
So you make it unlimited amount of noise after that?
It's within the hours of so the noise bylaw only kicks in between 11
Yeah,
PM
I
and 7
understand that.
AM.
And I understand that that's for normal
Yeah.
construction and things like that, when you get your gardeners and your lawnmowers and all that kind of stuff, but this seems to be a little beyond that from what I haven't seen or heard. I like it.
We can send you the video.
Our
We could
bylaw
refer
does.
it- We could refer it to bylaw just to look into it and investigate, because we'd also want community development to look into just give us a report on the land issue. Generally, we don't regulate the activity, we would regulate the land use. So, but we can look for a report on that.
Yeah, I see this as an issue of a jurisdictional issue, clearly, because, yes, we have some control of the land use, for example, the temporary structure. That's clearly within our mandate. But when it comes to detrimental effects on health or the environment,
That's a
that
problem.
remains with the province. We don't have the ability to assess whether dust is toxic or not toxic.
That's the problem. No one has the ability to.
Well,
assess whether
environment
it's
actually does
Toxic.
have the ability if they choose to do it.
Yeah,
But we do not. And we don't, and nor like, and so, or if noise is to a level that exceeds some reasonable level, how do we assess that? We don't have the ability to do it. And like if it actually is impacting people's health, that would be.
Yeah, we
demeaning
have
the
a
process.
decibel machine, or we've used one before, but the bylaw doesn't even kick in until after 11 o'clock at night. So there is no bylaw during the day.
That's correct. And then if it were a health hazard, like if it were
That's
damaging
not-
people's hearing or like at a frequency that's, that creates discomfort, that goes to like environment or occupational health and
Health and
safety,
safety, yes.
something like that.
Mhm.
Those are provincial departments. We have the ability to regulate land use and say, these are the things you can do. You know, if somebody was sandblasting a wheel for their trailer or something like that and putting it back on, we wouldn't have an issue with it. And then the other extreme is they're sandblasting sea cans.
Mhm.
And somewhere maybe between those two things, it's a reasonable level, and maybe above and at that, it's unreasonable.
Mhm.
But as a municipal body, we don't have the ability to determine where that threshold is.
Mhm.
That's why we have like the province employs scientists and has departments that have the staff that can make those assessments. We're not sophisticated enough. to
No,
make those
and I understand
determinations.
that, but what I need to know is where are the departments, who are the departments, because trust me, I have spent the last 3
And
weeks
that we can do. is
calling
just
every
put a
person
contact
that I
list.
Yeah, I think that, yeah.
and no one seems to be able to.
I agree that we could perhaps come up with a.
We can
more
do our
clever-
best to put a contact list on our webpage for those sorts of issues.
We're gonna have a discussion later on about roads. Which are again, are a jurisdictional matter. And if you hang around and you watch or whatever, you'll find that it's the same scenario. We often get the call. And sometimes we're in a situation where we're powerless to help.
Oh, I agree. But you may be maybe easier for you to access the information for those that perhaps
I
can.
think we could have a wayfinding
Yeah,
kind of.
well, we can
website
get a
or something.
report from staff on what's going on, where we're involved, where we're not, and that kind of stuff.
But
And we can
also,
do the contact list part.
but also, if it's something like that happening in our municipality, that we know is not right, but we don't have the jurisdiction.
We can report it
We
to
have
environment
speak-
ourselves.
We have to speak up,
Yeah,
and we have to let the authorities know this is not acceptable and we want something done.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do that, we can be heard, and I think our voice helps.
oh, no.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And I
Yeah,
think
we can contact them also to determine what it is, what are you doing, what are you not.
True, often the response we get is they don't take third-party complaints.
Well, I agree.
That's the problem, because I
Yeah.
ran into that.
Well, you can try.
We can try.
Team.
Thank you. So Annette, could you mention again to us what the response was by environment?
They currently don't have, what she said, the inspector was that there wasn't a specific regulation or bylaw or note or information that she could say, this is in violation, sandblasting. And she said, therefore, it's awful that it's happening to you, but there's really nothing we can do. So then we went further and we actually got some legislation from some of the other provinces that do have. And it specifically says abrasive sandblasting. So there are regulations, but apparently in Nova Scotia, the environment doesn't worry about abrasive sandblasting.
Okay, so it's within the written documents of other provinces, but not Nova Scotia.
Exactly.
But that's not to say we shouldn't. be
No, and I
doing
understand
something
that
across.
that's above
Yeah,
your
yeah,
pay
yeah.
grade, so to
But
speak.
I
But
guess, so I'm just kind of starting with that. But I know that, I was wondering if it was a capacity issue or, staffing and budgeting and capacity, and I don't know that. But I know that.
all I know is that when I called Canadian Coast Guard, which I found bizarre for Nova Scotia environment, that on the weekends after hours that you get referred to Canadian Coast Guard in Montreal, I just find that very bizarre. Like, we don't have staff that's available to answer phones on the weekends. Like, that's bizarre. And the girl that answered the phone said, when we get calls regarding environmental issues from Nova Scotia, it's our finding that most employees at the Department of Environment do not work on the weekends.
That's nice.
And the calls are recorded, so, you know, that was for,
So I guess where I'm gonna go with that is that, you know, being a member, a committee member of a number of committees, including building, unsightly premises, and this has come up, environment has come up, if you will. And I'm gonna look to Alan and Floyd, because we've all sit on that committee. And I know it's come up before and you know, kind of wringing our hands a little bit in terms of other times when we felt environment probably should be taking a look or not. That's maybe, they're not nodding their heads, so maybe it's just me then. But I asked a couple of times if we could have environment here present for a council meeting or a committee of the whole, I don't care where it is, when it is, but to explain to us, you know, where they are with maybe their hands being tied. Is there something we can do to advocate provincially for increased funding or increased budgets to that particular department? Because I don't know about anyone else, but I seem to be running into it on a good, one time is too many when it comes to properties. And I've heard recently that there's been some infilling in the Chester Village area on the ocean, and the roadblocks were with environment, and now they passed the torch, I think, to natural resources, and maybe that's fair. But again, this person, a resident of the village of Chester, is very frustrated with what seems to be ignored or turning the other way when something that's illegal or, yeah, illegal is happening.
well, I just know that for the Department of Environment, and don't get me wrong, smoking is bad, but they're all over you if you're not 30 feet from the building from one cigarette. But the amount of smoke or dust particles that came from the sandblasting for 4 days is a lot more intense than one cigarette, and there's nothing they're gonna do about that. Like, there seems to be, I don't know, this is dysfunctional department. And I get you guys can't do anything, but you're the local department, so you come to you first and then just keep bumping it up the chain, so to speak.
Yeah,
But what I need is who next to go to, because
Yeah.
apparently our MLA doesn't know how to do anything, and the MP is still waiting to get back to me, so.
Yeah, Tina, you finished with Jerry?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I am in a way, but I just want to say that I don't think that's good enough in terms of us not, I think we need some steps here. I do, I think, and I think Derek started that discussion and the list and so on, but I just think there's more, like, you know, get environment in here, tell us what they're doing. Specifically ask, you know, maybe it's at the NSFM conference in the fall, we talk about it, I don't know, but we can keep pretending that, you know, this issue isn't happening in this community or this, but it's too many of them. Sorry, now I'm done, thanks.
Yeah, Derek.
Back a few months ago, when there were some demolitions going on the buildings, we had letters from residents about the dust.
Yeah.
It's not the same, it wasn't toxic dust, it was just buildings being demolished and the neighbors complaining about excessive dust. We discussed that, and was there something in our building bylaw or planning or something to deal with dust control? How do we deal with those complaints? Terry, you remember?
Generally speaking, I don't think, I'd have to refer back, but I don't think there's anything in the bylaw
How
on
do
dust
we-
control
how do we-
unless it's through a development agreement, and then there's ability to require.
How did we deal with the complaints at the time? Did we just dismiss them?
I think we said we didn't have a.
Yeah, basically.
Now, I know in Chester Basin, they tore down the old elementary school and was getting complaints. And in that particular case, because there was asbestos in the building,
Which was similar.
we were able to not issue a demolition permit until they had remedied or removed all the asbestos, and then that comes into a whole other ballgame. But had the asbestos not been there, you can't put a tent around some buildings, right? You just,
No, but if you're gonna be sandblasting 12 feet high by 40 feet long sea cans, if you've got the money to sandblast them, then you better figure out how to put a tent in, because that's not fair to be able to just say, well, you can't put a tent around because it's too
no,
big.
I'm not saying in that
Yeah.
case there wasn't something, but I mean, I can honestly say that in the real world, there are some buildings when you demolish them, I mean, you can't put a tent around them, you just can't do that.
Understood. I thought there was a little more we did on that last complaint. I'll go back and
I
check.
don't remember.
But I
to be
think
honest with
when
you.
the building was torn down at the Windjammer, they use fire to keep the dust down, or not fire,
Water.
water to keep the dust.
Yeah.
down.
Yeah,
Not
fire would have worked, yeah.
Yeah,
Fire department.
yeah, the fire department used water on it or however they did to keep the dust down. That might have helped, but
Anyway,
Again, at
Okay.
that point, it's environmental.
Yeah, and I-
well,
I
if
just-
you can have someone get back to me with some contacts, because
Yeah,
I
we can-
personally am
we
not
can get a
letting this
contact
drop. I'm
list.
gonna continue to aggravate people
Yeah.
until someone does something about it, so.
I don't think we should let it drop either, Ned. I think this is thank you for coming to present this. I think we have to look at this. This is just one of,
Well, yeah, and I mean,
but it's
we
not
don't
happening.
know, it's a commercial operation, and just because they've ceased operations with the company that was doing it before, they've got a lot of land there, and they're gonna continue to operate, so there's gonna be more sea cans coming in, there's no question. And by the fact that they were doing it on the weekends means that they know that the regulations, there's no one around through the week, that's why they did it on the weekends.
Annette did her homework, and I just, before you go, the Department of Environment, I've dealt with them over the years, and it's under the Department of Agriculture, okay? So that, they're like a subset of, because I asked the guy, I said, well, how can you send somebody out to look at a horse? Do they have that kind of expertise in the Department of Environment? Oh, yes, so it's, I'm sure it's a staffing problem, but it's,
Well, they told me at the
It
Department of
needs- yeah.
Environment too, when I.
it needs to be, yeah.
When I called on the Monday after the long weekend, and she said to me, I can assign an inspector to look at this, but you do realize that we're coming into the long weekend and people need vacations. And I said, so you're implying that environmental issues should only happen between 8:30 and 4:30 through the week and not on
That
weekends and
was-
holidays?
No, that's not, I had a good inspector come down on the weekend, that's not.
Well, she wouldn't send
Yeah,
anyone down,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
because they don't work on the weekends, so, but anyway.
Thanks,
Thank you.
thanks, Annette.
Okay, minutes of the previous meeting, canceled July the 28th. Errors or omissions?
second,
Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Cancel August 23rd, errors or omissions.
I'll move that we close.
From who?
Seconder?
Yes, I would like a chance to talk at this meeting, please.
Oh, sorry. Oh,
We'll do seconded.
discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Public input? You
Pardon?
want public input?
Yes, I do.
Okay, come on. Sorry,
Now,
I wasn't aware that you did.
well, no, I didn't know the procedures quite, and I'm not quite up to par or whatever. But I've been waiting for an answer for this for a year, almost.
Just state your name and civic address. for
Oh,
the
I'm
record.
sorry. My name is Sharon Brimmer. I live on Chester Commons, 134 Chester Commons Road. And this has been in my crop for almost a year, trying to get answers to why the municipality has a road going through my property. This is the deed. If somebody understands it, I don't. But I started out when Mr. Bachman was out to survey for Cynthia Sprague's. And where he put his survey stakes on her property, 2 doors down from me on the left. Anyway, I called him 4 times, no answer, didn't reply. I called Mr. Weber. Yes, his statement was he doubted if Mr. Bachman ever worked for us. But us wasn't there. You probably was, if you've been there for the last 22 years on council. You're a familiar face. Anyway, then I went to who? When I called Mr. Weber, he never called me back with any answers. He would look into it. So then, the next, he passed it on to Chad Hans, who's Department of Recreation and Parks. I don't know what that had to do with my deed, but that's. And then I called Mr. Wells. And I had Mr. Wells till he was in my kitchen one day and looked on his phone. and seeing that the road come up and went around the corner instead of coming through the property that I now own. And Mr. Bachman was there to survey for Marjorie and Gerald Brimmer at the time. I lived there for 33 years at that time. And Marjorie Brimmer and Gerald Brimmer had nothing to do beyond the stone wall that went up between the two of us. And apparently Mr. Errol Head, who was a top surveyor, surveyed that line out for the municipality back in maybe 1952 or something like that. And every surveyor, except Mr. Bachman, has gone on that line. But Mr. Bachman come over and has given Gerald and Marjorie Brimmer, Gerald Brimmer now, part of this so-called road, I guess, because by the time he gets down to the end of my property, he's over about 25 feet. So I would like to know, I'd like to know some answers. And the measurements on this deed, I'm not a, professional at reading deeds or anything, but it goes from 103 feet one way, but then I am 240 some feet. I don't know where that is on one side, like. No answers. Like I say, I've been waiting that Mr. Derek Wells was gonna get back to me, never heard it, never. He was gonna come out and walk the line when the weather got better, but never seen him. The next call I got was from his secretary.
Not my secretary, my mapper.
Well, your mapper, anyway, she went all on, I was on the phone with her, she was on her phone and going all over, oh yes, I definitely see what you are, I definitely see it. But I never heard back from her since, not a word.
Hey, Derek.
Yeah, there is an issue there, but it's a surveying issue.
It's a civil matter.
Yeah, I think.
Well, I-
Just, let me, the old road, that was the old common road.
Yeah.
You have it, I think the municipality deeded that to you.
The old Commons Road, where is the old Commons Road? There was never no road went through my property, but yeah, the Chester Commons Road comes up and goes over the past the front of my house.
You have a deed from the municipality. For
This,
You have a
this,
deed.
what the municipality, but I know, this is the first deed that ever, my land always joined John Brimmer's, and there was never no road going through it.
There's, on the old Chester Commons, there's the old unopened roadway.
Yeah, there's some unopened roadways, yes.
And this was an unopened roadway that was owned by the trustees of the Chester Commons.
Not until now.
And there was a deed from the municipality to you some years ago for the old road. When it was surveyed by Mr. Bachman, Sharon doesn't agree with where Art did the line.
Yeah.
No, I guess she don't.
So she is correct that I had my searcher and mapper do a thorough search of it and had her call you as opposed to her, because she is the expert on mapping.
Yes.
And she had a fulsome discussion with you. It's not a simple matter of us being able to say, here's the land. Doesn't work that way. There's a dispute between you and the neighbor as to where the line is.
But it was the municipality and Mr. Bachman that did this, because they were all out to walk the line.
And as I did
And
with you
with me, when?
during the election campaign.
No,
Yeah, you took me.
no, there was snow on the ground. You never come back to walk the line. I'm sorry, Derek, no.
Yeah.
It was the, in October. I can give you notice. That's when I sat in your kitchen.
So I remember that.
And you showed me the line, and then I did the research and my researcher reported back, so. That's, but there is an issue there. I understand what the concern is.
And like I said, I think Mr. Bachman also was the surveyor for the village of, or the municipality of Chester at the time.
Maybe he was. I didn't recall. That's all. I was.
Well, I'm like Percy Shafford, I presume.
Mr. Bachman.
That's what I heard.
Mr. Bachman did do the survey. I don't know who retained him to do the
No.
survey, whether it was a municipality or neighbor. But there is a survey that Mr. Bachman did that,
Well, he don't answer his calls, so I can't get no, you know,
Well, there's no way for us to resolve it here. I would need some kind of legal opinion of something, like what's our role in all this?
yeah, well, I wasn't doing it, I wasn't retained as a lawyer, as a counselor, and how the municipality might be impacted here, or what we might be able to do to help with what I was looking into.
Yeah,
And it's an unresolved issue.
So just as a question, so do we believe, I mean, I believe it's important to determine then who
whose responsibility it is?
who contracted with the surveyor, whether it was us, you said you can't recall at the time, but I do think it's important as part of this discussion, is it not, that if it was us or the landowner at that time?
Well, yes, but even if it was us, is it inaccurate or is it not? And that's what I don't.
I think Mr. Bachman, I don't recall right now, did the survey when we were conveying the open road. I think the survey was done by Mr. Bachman, and he established what he considered to be the location of the old Chester Common Road, owned by the trustees. So I think in that, whether it was municipality or somebody else, I can't imagine it was anyone but the municipality.
I agree,
Who retained Mr. Bachman to do that survey.
that's my guess.
That Sharon disagrees with.
Yes, but even if you did, I mean, I don't want to get too far into this. It sounds like a legal matter to me, but was his survey accurate or inaccurate?
This record type of survey issue.
Yeah,
Until proven to the contrary, Mr. Bachman's survey stands.
yeah.
And only another surveyor.
well, does the municipality claim this road on all the properties that border on this line? From the golf course, that comes from Washington Point to Spectacle Lake?
I'm gonna have, staff are gonna have to dig in, find the file, review it with us and tell us what the next step is, because I quite frankly don't know.
Yeah, but on the way those old roads were treated in the past, the municipality had ownership, and many of those that were conveyed to the abutting property.
Yes, I realize that. Some were, some weren't.
And this case next to Sharon, the municipality did in fact convey the open road to Sharon and her husband at the time.
Yes,
That's
which
20
was
years ago.
But the road-
intended to
The
resolve.
road was never
Yeah.
there.
No, the road was never open.
You all bring it up on your
But
phone,
we
and it was
owned-
up around the corner and past the front of my
But we
house.
owned the property.
49.5 foot right away.
So do you own all the rest of the property that borders on this line?
I
That's
don't know if
deeded-
we deeded
yeah.
it all the same as we did to you or not.
No, you deeded it all to Randy Beckley, he owns it all.
Somebody's gonna have to dig up the file. So I don't.
Well, I'd like an answer, but not today, because I realize it's not gonna be that way.
Yeah, why we didn't convey them, don't ask me, don't remember.
We talked about water lines back then.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
There's a variety of strips the municipality still owns.
Yes, I
For
know.
reasons that we thought might be useful to us.
Well, I don't know what use this would be to you.
This one we
You
did-
know,
We gave this one to you though. You didn't own it until we did. Okay, we need to review the files, otherwise there's nobody here to answer the question. Okay,
thank you,
Thank you.
we will review the file.
thank you.
Any other public input? You have an appointment a little later. Okay, committee of the whole. Is there anything there that I needed to do? Yes,
There was a motion,
motion.
letter to the minister. I'll move that we approve motion 222-335, a letter to the minister on the highway vehicle.
Okay, second discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Carol Noss. Little past 9.
That's okay. I'm patient.
I know.
Kids, you can follow along.
Caboose.
Others. If you follow Facebook, you know that we've already posted.
Saw that
We're
last night.
expecting
Saw that.
sometime this month, before the end of the month. And that's been our biggest problem is that, although we have it donated to us,
You can't get it.
Oh, yes, we can.
Yes, but that's right.
We can get it, with the help of the pond fund. We can certainly move it, although the price, as everything else, has gone up. Anyway, I have copies of the plan where this fits in to what we would like to do. And it's not a legal plan, it's a sketch, so figures don't mean a whole lot in that picture. These are some pictures of what it looks like. So first of all, I guess what I want to say is that we kind of have a gift for the municipality. Because in putting the caboose at the station, we hope that it will attract more tourism and people who are interested. Apparently, there are lots of people who are interested in trains and so forth.
I got a bunch of train sets.
Well, this one is one of the last number of cabooses that they made in this particular configuration. And we know that because of the serial number on it. They call it a bad caboose because somewhere along the line, something needed to be replaced or fixed. And they didn't do it. They just took it out of service. So right now it's sitting in Moncton. It's been donated by the Nolan family. They came originally from here apparently. And they were more than happy to donate it to us. It's worth even just a scrap metal of somewhere around $10,000. So they've donated 10. The Pawn Trust has donated enough to get it from there to here.
Yeah.
Almost. Price gone up 2,000. It's amazing how fast it moves.
Oh,
But they have to
got
have
more
us.
money.
They have to have a second, we have to pay for that moving.
Yeah.
So we have the money to do that with them, a little bit left. So basically what we have at this point is a caboose that's due to arrive at the station within this month because of the time frame. We saw it online and discovered that they wanted it moved before the end of the month. So right now, it's close. We're pushing it. But I had to come up with some money to do that, and the Han Trust, for historic reasons, gave us that. We have, at this point, a donation of the gravel or rock that we need to
Built the platform.
make the bed for it. The problem, the biggest problem we ran into was ties. Because you can't
Get them anymore.
get them anymore, and any you can find, they're so rotten that there's no point putting them down. So we eventually tracked down a company in Truro, I think it is. Anyway, called Sheila Jones, and they apparently make ties, but I can't get an answer from them. They haven't called me back. They will, and I'll get to it. But we know that at one point, a tie cost $50. Now, that was before. Do I know how much now? No, but I'm guessing probably more than that.
Carol, if I can, how many ties are you looking for?
We need 35.
Okay. I have a few, but
Yeah, but we need 35. The company, the caboose comes with the rails. It comes with plates and the
Bolts.
bolts,
Big spikes.
spikes. It comes with couplers for the rail because this caboose is almost 49 feet long. It's big.
Where are you gonna put it?
We are going to put it right now in front of what we call the freight shed. And if you look, you'll see on the diagram, the freight shed is there, past the station. That will enable us to work on it. The inside is not complete. It's been gutted, if you will. It needs windows. It needs some tender loving care, but that's not anything we're needing to do right now. But what we do need to do is to prepare a bed for it, so that when we can get it moved, we've got somewhere to put it.
Yeah.
We had the choice of just sitting it on rock and not putting ties down or rails. But it seems to us that if we're going to
Then
replace
you'd have to pick it up and do it all over again.
well, we'll have to pick it up and do it all over again.
Yeah.
He would bring it, but there's no possible way that we can lay a bed, lay the ties, and have this thing ready to sit. Plus that, it puts it right smack outside the Station 20 shop. And so if we're going to be working in there and working on it, trying to get it back up into shape, you really don't want to do that on top of the shop. So the logical place seemed to move it over by the shed. And if worse came to worse, I suppose it could just sit there forever. But we would like to continue on. And as part of that, we want to put on the platform, boarding platform that ran along the front of the station. And we want to make it low enough that we don't have to put a railing on it, because we want to be able to use the caboose for other things. So I guess you could say that maybe if council is it could be interested, it could become the tourist bureau for the municipality. I don't know. It's just another draw to bring people in. You know, we've got Ross Farm on one end, we've got maybe this in the museum down here. It seems to me that it's a logical thing to do.
So we bought this now.
Yeah, we will very shortly.
So what's the, how much more money do you have to spend to get it up?
The underlying, look, as far as I can tell, and I can't give you the price of the ties because I can't get an answer from them, but I know that they run that way. So if we needed ties, we're looking at another $2,500 if we just go with, we'll say 50. So we need that. We have Earl Woodworth, I think you're familiar with him. He apparently laid track as a young man, so he knows how to do it. We've been in contact with Middleton, who had theirs moved with people down beyond Halifax, and with the gentleman who had the railway museum in between Lunenburg and Bridgewater. So, I mean, we have lots of expertise about how to do it. But we need another 2,000 even to move it. We can account for that. And we are going to fundraise. We've already plans in place to fundraise for this. Our problem is the condensed period of time. So I guess what I'm asking, is could you give us some money? The usual. I'm going to apply for a grant. And if you look at what you see there, and the black marks are mine, and I'm not a neat, tidy person, as you can see. Phase one, we figure would be the moving of the train, the tracks, and the platform. That will get it that far.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we will raise money to do the interior and so forth, but we have to prepare the bed. So that and the platform would be an addition that's already been there. We're just replacing what was there originally. So that's number one. Phase two would be to continue that platform up to what we call the freight shed, which would allow us to put in new wheelchair accessible ramp to change the direction a bit, and would enable us then to use the freight shed as a display for whatever purposes we determine. It could be train related, could be shown just as it was, which was the unloading place for the freight, because the trains are level with that, which is why that's so far up in the air. And the final one is to do the work on the shed, which if you go around and look is in kind of rickety shape in places, but it would make enough room for display and for storage for us for auctions and flea markets and so forth. So that's the plan, and it's not something that we see as happening in 1 year, maybe a 2-3 year period. But we would like to, at least, if we do nothing else.
You need the bed and the rails.
We need the bed and the rails down so that eventually we can move this over and
Yeah,
put it in
that's what
front.
I'm gonna ask, how much money do you need?
How much money? I would love to have $5,000 more.
Okay. That'll get you through to get it here and get it set up and.
It would help.
Yeah.
I've already begged the pawn trust to treat trucks up theirs. which would enable us to look at some of these other things. But this comes with everything.
Chad, what's she eligible for at the moment that we can deal with?
So the next grant deadline that's coming up for our council on tourism is October 31st. Between now and then, it would be district grant funding.
Oh, jeez.
And talking about district grants, while I'm thinking about it, both Sharon and Derek gave us money for the Queen's celebration and Canada Day. We didn't spend all your money. So,
You asked for too much.
well, apparently. But what we want to know is, should we give it back to you?
Not at the moment, I don't think.
Well, I mean, we're willing, we didn't use it for that purpose. So, I mean, we really can't use it for anything else. So either we give it back or we save it for next year.
Use it for this.
Well, I mean, I can't
If
do
they
that.
agree with using it for this, then there's not a problem.
I wrote some emails about it anyway.
How much do you have left, so we get an idea then? If you allow that?
I think Derek gave me 5. And I had 2,000, I've got, it's down in the books. Sharon's was a little over 2.
Should be in our council package, because the
It could have been that
listing would
much.
be in there, right?
No, I just couldn't, well, it may not have been. Maybe
Yes,
it
I
was
gave you
500
I
or
gave you
2.
What, 500? 500.
No, I think what it was, I think, my budget was 1,500, 500 a share.
Okay, so there we go, 2,500.
I'm just going by, I
Yeah, I don't know the fact.
think you asked. I think you asked for 3.
Yeah.
Well,
I'd have no problem using the vote for this, but I think we need to go through we need to have that formal application on file with the request. I think, Chad, you would probably, from a process. point of view-
2,000, that was Derek or? Yeah, Derek gave him 2, Sharon's district is what number?
2, I give you 2.
It's
Sure.
5, but it's Canada Day and.
So that you got 2,500 from the 2 of them combined.
Right, but in order to use that, I have to have something from you that says we may use it.
Well, we
So
can
how
make-
much you have left of it? The whole 25?
Pretty well.
Okay, so that's
Okay.
half the battle.
That's half the battle.
Yeah. Don't we have any kind of special council just can vote to give people money?
There's
I don't know.
guidelines and
I
procedures
know.
and deadlines.
Well, I know that, and I knew that I couldn't possibly make a grant deadline because because of the time frame. So that's why I'm here saying, is it possible? And if you give me a tourism grant, then that means I can't apply for anything else, right, Jack?
Yeah, but the deadline, October 31, takes us through this fiscal
Wow.
year anyway, and district council grant. just-
I can give you 500.
I can give you 500.
So what, doesn't even matter, she can't apply for anything else.
Well, that's 35.
Getting there.
I can't give her any more. can I?
You've already given.
I know I did.
You can if you want.
Yeah, I can, because I know that I probably won't use up all mine.
I'm not gonna give any more of my budget, I think that.
I think you've been more than generous, Barry.
I can give you $500 more.
Well, that's 4,000 roughly.
Hey, Andre, you got any
I
more?
got 4 community centers in my district.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I have an application in today
Yeah.
for something in my area, right? Absolutely.
But I want to, point out that, I mean, we could call this, if you wish, the tourism trail. We already run your tourism
All we got.
at the station to begin with. And it would be nice, one of the things we could do is move that display out into the booth. And with the extra staff that we pick up through the summer.
I'll give you 1,000 instead of 500. And that's the end of it for me. No, so that's 1,500,
That's 2,000.
another 500, 40.
4,500.
That's 4,500.
We'll survive.
Okay, so you just gotta fill out the applications, Chad will tell you how to do all that.
All right, so then what happens if I want to apply for further grants?
It got nothing to do with
That has
it,
nothing.
you know.
Nothing?
That's too nice. on
Okay, I'm just covering because we've still got other things to do. We know that the platform is gonna cost us 14,000 or better.
You're still eligible for all of it.
The
Okay.
October 31 intake, it's still eligible.
The
So,
pictures just show you what's coming.
So good luck receiving a call back from the lady that you reached out to in terms of getting those ties.
Well, we're gonna continue, and I mean, we will fundraise.
Well, we don't have applications from her yet.
I don't have anything, so I need to find out what you want.
Yeah, we need the applications. We could have a motion to reallocate the money that was given previously.
But I want to see the new application. I want to see the.
What it is. Okay, well, we'll wait and do all that once. You
Okay.
just get the application in for next council meeting.
All right, we'll do that. I
Okay.
want to thank you very much.
You already got it approved, more or less.
Want me to take that out of your way, or you want to keep it?
So how did you come upon this, Carol? Did they?
How did I come upon it? Well, my son watches Kijiji. Or should I say scans Kijiji for various things. So he came across the caboose.
Oh, okay.
And he said, you're looking for a train, and we've been watching for a long time. We've had our name in with the department that supplies these trains and so forth, and never anything, there's never anything there. And so he says, there's a train. He says, it's not a train's caboose. I said, okay, so we got in touch, and it turns out that it belongs, or it is in a scrapyard at Nolan's, which is in Moncton, and they need it moved because they're going to expand. And so.
I'm not sure if it's regularly too.
It's just more freaking work.
This is gonna be a lot of work.
Well, I have
You
a
like
group of
to-
people who are really keen to do this,
Okay.
and already fundraising, there, you know, we've already thought of ways to raise some money.
Well, once you get in there, half the battle.
Well, that should be here sometime shortly. The man who's gonna move it is moving a house somewhere in Amherst right now. He'll be finished, he said, on Tuesday.
That'll be quite a thing to see when you bring it coming down.
No, it's sustaining and maintaining, that's the battle.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Trains
Well-
come by Chester.
well, it's nice to have it come back. And it gives us another pull, if you will, for tourism here.
People will like.
And to bring people, hopefully, a chance to send people into other areas of the municipality, because we do anyway. Downtown and anywhere. We, you know, we're willing. So, I mean, you might want to think about your tourism and if that's worth considering for you people. I know that you don't want to run a tourist bureau, quote unquote, but I don't think your ambassador program is working, if you want my honest opinion.
Well,
we
couldn't
have-
even-
we
couldn't
have
even
3 to
hire
4
one this year.
I know, but we had 3,000 to 4,000 people through that station every summer. And 3/4 of those people are looking for information. They don't, we saw it online, but we want to know, where should we go to eat? Where should we do this? So I mean, as much as you think that online is the answer, people want to talk and businesses don't have time to talk. They're in the business of selling. And if you look, where was I? Bull River. Rack is on the wall, and there were 3 cards in it. So what good does that do me? I'm going out the door, there's the rack, I pick up a card, here I am with a card, but I don't know if that's any good or not. Should I go there? Shouldn't I go there?
Who gives them the information about the train station?
At the train
They
station,
say 3/4 are asking for information. Who are they asking?
they are asking the people who work there. Because what we have is a co-op, basically. And at the end of this year, we will have put out over $100,000 or raised $100,000 in that store, of which we get a percentage. This year, I think, and last year was 10% because of COVID. Normally it's 15%. The rest goes to the artisans, and we have approximately 45 artisans who fill that station with goods, and they're open from early spring until just before Christmas.
So those are our unofficial tourist ambassadors.
So those are
Yeah.
our unofficial tourist ambassadors, and since the shop is manned by volunteers, they know the area.
Maybe we should buy them a cup of coffee or something.
Well, it would be nice, we try to send people downtown, and so we're hoping that we'll get some money out of the
merchants.
No, we won't get them from the merchants, but maybe from the village commission. We see differently. They see us as being, taking away their livelihood instead of sending people
Stores
down.
down there, yeah.
So, I mean,
Doesn't matter.
we haven't been very successful there, unfortunately. But we keep trying. And so, I mean, it's a thought that perhaps it might help. I mean, people want to know, can I tell them, you know, you can go here, you can go here. But if nobody ever tells us either, you know, it comes by word of mouth, and people who live here know more than the majority of people.
I just want to say, I appreciate your comments on your feedback around the ambassador program, because it's on the ground and it's real. I know that we've got our work cut out here in terms of council and staff, because we talked about, and I think we do need to get to that, is that the opportunity with the new the ferry, not the new ferry, but the ferry coming into Blandford, and the opportunity to educate or make aware visitors, but as well as residents, all of us, about the opportunities for the entire municipality to pull them this way, if you will.
Yes, I think so. We did offer this year to take your square piece of, what is it, canvas?
Yeah.
And if you would have put it at the station, we would have manned it, at least enough to say that it's there and that, you know, we could give information. We're not saying we won't do it. We're saying we do it because we're still, for whatever purposes, listed as a visitor information center. And I mean, I don't know whether anybody remembers when we started the ambassador program. I told you, I didn't think it would work very well.
You were right, it doesn't.
And it didn't.
You weren't the only one.
So, I mean, it just, people want to talk to people. They don't want to talk to your cell phone. So, anyway, as I
Thank
said,
you.
thank you very much. I can't say anything more than thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're saving my bacon once again.
The social tourism cooperative is coming in to present next week. You know, depending on your time, you're very busy, but you might want to be here just for the presentation or catch it online. I'm not sure quite the extent of the presentation, but.
Well, if you let me know, I'll find
It's
time.
it's
I
next
try
week.
anyway.
I'll let you know the time on the agenda.
All right,
I can do
thanks.
that.
Okay,
And
so.
everyone else.
Thanks, Cheryl. Thank you. So 6.2 is not until 11, so we're gonna move down to 7.1. Yeah, Bruce is here, yeah, professional decision, corporate strategic management, fire services registration. And I think you have an update on another matter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'll just go over the annual update on fire services registration. That's for the period 2022. I think you have a copy of my report,
Yeah.
so I won't spend a lot of time on it, but just go over some highlights. In the discussion and the fire tax rates, essentially the fire taxes have stayed the same as last year in most cases. On the financials, I'm glad to report again that all the commissions have submitted their audited statements. So we're well into that program. On the corporate status, I didn't put it in this report because it may have been just a timing issue, but Western Shore has moved now from a private statute to the Rural Fire District Act.
Okay.
So they've received DNA approval on that. So that brings them, they were the only ones that were under private statute.
Yeah.
So we're now still working with DNA on their bylaws. That was the first step to get them under the Rural Fire District Act. Also under Hubbard's, we're discussing with the commission at this present time whether they're going to renew the Societies Act registration for the department itself. So we're asking sort of legal opinions on that next step. But their financials are all up to date and in good shape, which is great. Nothing really new on the insurance area, except that our premiums continue to rise. We had nearly 9 to 12% for 2022, mainly in the vehicle apparatus premiums. So we're looking to continue to look on that. We still benefit though from the association with the municipal program, and because there were other companies that were even refusing to offer services. Good news on the update on the WCB. We had a very large rise from the 47 cents where we started in 2021, I guess it was, but it went to 66 cents. And the latest information was that it'll start dropping back down again, which is good news. So, and that we were predicting it would be going up because of the extra cancer coverage of the WCB that's recently enacted. But we'll keep our eye on that one. All the departments are maintaining their current private policies, and we're looking at potentially bringing all those under one group policy. That's in discussion at this present time. On the registered service levels, they've all departments have resumed response to the medical calls, and that's after post-COVID. So we're still supplying. We still have some sporadic cases, and we're still supplying masks and things if they need them, but they're basically back to normal. Chester Fire Department actually completed a high-angle rescue course for their members, and they've moved now to an operational service level for that, which is actually the only department that is offering that service, which is good news from there. Hazmat, there's no change in the hazmat response. We're still working with the awareness level and still dependent upon Kings County and HRM service, but really no movement on that. I did include the 2021 call types and summary. You did receive a report prior in January. This is just basically a repeat of that. But I did have an update related to the year-to-date calls. We're actually now at over 550 calls year-to-date. So that is now coming back up to the regular levels that we've been seeing. There are significant increases in structure fires again in 2021. And the number of motor vehicle accidents actually increased in 2021 over 2020. And they continue to increase. We don't know the real reasons why, but there's been a rash of them. Yesterday, we had another fatality call up in the New Ross area.
Yeah.
And so we'll have to keep our eye on it. All the departments are equipped with extrication and first response equipment, so we deal with them as best we can. Related to the operations in general, I think I included that in the earlier report, but Jared Swimmer is now the Western Shore Chief, and Cody Stevens is now moved to the chief position, replacing Everett at Chester Fire. Injuries very low. There's no major claims to our firefighters under WCB, which is good news. And we continue to fund the respiratory protection program. We had a little bit of a delay in that due to some equipment issues this year, but we're back on track. And we continue to pursue the level 1 training. We have, I believe, 15 or so go through this year's program. So my recommendation after review of that is that we to complete the annual registration process, that the council accept the registration updates as provided by the commissions and the fire departments, and that you next step would be to issue the Schedule B recognition letters or registration notifications to the commissions.
Questions, people?
I actually have a question. So I'm looking at the 2021, thank you for
Yeah.
this, by the way, and thank you for the report that you provide to us as well. Well, this past year was in January, so I'm
Yes.
guessing annually in January.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that the medical, I'm sorry, it's probably in this report. So when, okay, this is 21, so yeah, that would make sense. Never mind, forget my question. I just realized I answered it in my own head. There.
Did you tell us the answer?
Oh,
With COVID, we were under
yeah,
medical restrictions.
sorry, yeah, no, I did. I was
Actually,
looking
we're not
at
responding
the
to that.
stats from January, because I have
Okay.
those in front of me.
Yeah.
And then your pie chart, and I just answered my own question,
Yeah.
so thank you. Oh.
I have a question.
Yes.
Oh.
It's a good going. I'm just interested to see
Yeah.
how it's going. Is it in use and can it be used? And is anyone using it?
Yeah, we're well into the pilot training and operational protocols right now, and it's still located at Chester Basin. Right now, it's at Blanford. They're training 2 more pilots. So we've got an advanced pilot in Chester Basin, 1 in New Ross, and we're moving to 2 more pilots in Blanford. Those are the first 3 departments that were to get the
Can it be
program
used
going.
now or can someone take it and do it?
Yes, it can be. Yeah, we have 2 advanced pilots, so it's ready to go to into service.
So it hasn't been used yet.
Just in training, that's right. Yeah,
Okay.
just in training.
Any other questions?
We have to do this right from the point of view of, because we have a liability issue with respect to them. So we've issued a full operating manual and there's pilot certification.
Somebody want to approve the recommendations?
I will. So move.
Seconded,
Second.
discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion is carried. You have one more update for us, Bruce?
Yes, just wanted to bring everyone up to date on the risk assessment and where we stand on that at this present time. Just to go back a little bit in history, on April 28th, we had a meeting with the steering committee and they accepted the consultant's report as meeting the project scope. That allowed us to go on to the next step. The commissions and the departments agreed at that meeting to review the recommendations and come up with 3 to 5 priorities that they considered important to pursue in the short and longer term. There were 38 final recommendations in the report, and we broke them down for ease of selection into 8 categories. And that was equipment and apparatus, volunteer workforce, fire department response, administration, risk management, training, water supply, and recruitment and retention. So the commissions and departments reviewed all those and we met last night to come up with the list of recommendations or the list of priorities. We had attendance from all the steering committee, with the exception of Martin's River, but Martin's River was unable to make it. But they did send by email their input. So we read that into the meeting minutes. So as of last night, we arrived at, with input from all the departments and the commissions, we got a list of what we would consider the short and long-term and longer-term priorities that they want to work on. And I can go through a couple of them just for one being the dry hydrant program is important for them going forward. And actually, they actually touch on all of the 8 areas. Records management, apparatus replacement schedules, auto aid, and response time improvement, which was a main focus on how we can improve our service and response time to the public. Wildfire mitigation issues related to that was identified as a major risk and in particular areas of the municipality that is a high risk. they're broken down, and what we're gonna do now is break these down into
Which
presentation.
come first?
Break those down into a presentation, and we're looking at September 29th as scheduling a presentation to council to review the recommendations. Have the steering committee review and jointly the presentation with the.
So you're planning to come in with the final recommendation on September 29th, right?
You'll get,
Or what we assume is final, unless council doesn't like it.
you'll get the consultant's report and recommendations.
Right,
And
yeah.
we'll just briefly go over their recommendations, and then you'll get the priorities from the.
Priorities from the fire department, and you've invited some representatives from the
That's
fire
correct.
service to come in and help out with that presentation.
Members of the steering committee, that's right, yeah. They haven't selected that member yet, but they'll get back to us.
Yeah.
So our
I
next
look
step is.
forward to seeing it, that's all. I can say.
Yeah. But I was very pleased, actually, last night in the sense of there are some things that they can do on their own and very short term. Such things as auto aid and dispatch protocols. There are other ones which will involve the municipality in some support role, be it the dry hydrant program or records management longer term. So we hope to be able to show council where the support may be needed.
Yeah.
And going forward. So that would be then lead to a development of a work plan and moving forward. Our plan, and that's still a discussion, but would be steering committee at that point would probably complete their job. And then we would move those recommendations onto a fire advisory type of structure where we would be able to pursue that work plan with council.
Okay.
That's our feeling.
Thank you. Good, look forward to seeing them on the 29th.
Great.
Okay, we're gonna do one more agenda item before we have a short break, 7.2, financial information services budget adjustments.
Good morning.
So, the request for decision I have for you.
It's local, see, Dan was saying. Yeah, he does.
Oh, it is here.
Yeah, he is, well, sort of, yeah, I just forget that he's there.
Where is it?
He's home.
Oh, okay.
He has some cough symptoms, which he doesn't believe is COVID. He's tested negative, but out of caution, he's home.
Well, nice to see you.
There's a couple of weeks.
He was there.
No, he just got them. Whatever.
All right. So what I have here is a handful of recommended adjustments to the 2022 and 23 operating and capital budgets that were approved on April 14th of this year.
Yeah.
So none of these adjustments should be a surprise to anyone. Nothing is new. They've all either been approved before or presented to you before, and this is really mostly housekeeping to get them reflected in our budget accurately.
Yeah.
None of them will affect the tax rates or the
Anything
operating.
else? No.
So under the recommendation, I'm recommending that council approve the following amendments, and they are listed here in this table on page 1. There are the 3 capital amendments, which are all carry forward of unspent amounts on previously approved and ongoing projects as of year end. And then 3 operating items. One would be to do with the year-end operating deficit. And then the other 2 were council grants that had been approved but had not yet been paid out. So I'll go through with a little bit more detail on each one. So the capital amounts, the capital projects are the East River Trail parking area, which was originally budgeted and approved at $30,000. Up to the end of March of this year, $16,494 had been spent, leaving $13,506 of that initially approved budget to carry forward this year.
Yeah.
To be spent.
To be spent to complete the project.
Yeah.
So we're not asking for any additional funding for that. It's just literally the amount that was already approved, less the amount that was spent
Carried forward
carried
into this
forward
year,
into
so
this
that
year
we
to get
can
it.
finish it up.
And that's the same for all three of these projects. The next one is the boat launch upgrade at Mill Cove Shore Road, also budgeted at $30,000 with the spend in 21-22 of $13,840, leaving $16,160 to be carried forward into this year's budget. And the third capital project is the municipal building improvements and repairs, was originally budgeted last year at $60,000. 31,625 was spent last year, leaving 28,375 to carry forward into the 22-23 budget. So each of these projects was initially approved in the 21-22 to be funded from the operating fund in the current year, or the current year at the time they were approved, and so at year end, the operating fund deficit or surplus gets closed to the operating reserve. And so really, I'm recommending to fund these from reserve directly this year. That doesn't have any difference to the reserve balances or anything except for the timing of when it hits those reserves. Right? And again, no impact to the tax rates.
So they didn't take that.
Yeah. The 21-22 operating deficit. So this was first presented to you at the year-end financial statements. And this is sort of an accounting number. It's not like, this is after accounting for all our reserve transfers to and from. So we had a deficit in the operating fund of $267,863 for the 21-22 fiscal year. And the MGA section 72, paragraph 4, requires that council shall include its estimates, the deficit from the preceding year. So again, this is something that has already impacted the reserve from the year-end allocations, and we're just making sure to include it in our budget to remain compliant with the Municipal Government Act.
Yeah.
The last two are council grants that were previously approved. So there's the $100,000 was approved to be provided to Ross Farm. That's the new Ross District Museum Society. 75% of that amount had already been provided in 2021. And due to project delays, the grantee had not yet met the criteria for the final payment of the last 25%. So this $25,000 should be included in the 22-23 operating budget. The funding source has not changed. It's still to be funded from the wind energy reserve. And so again, will not impact any tax rates. And the final item is another $100,000 grant that was approved in last year's budget to be granted to the New Ross Community Care Society. As of the fiscal year end last year, the grantee had not yet met the requirements. However, they have since then met those requirements, and council has authorized the payment of the full amount at the council meeting on May 26th of this year. And so that's already been paid and should be reflected in the budget, and is also being funded from the wind energy reserve.
That's it.
So, yeah. Unless,
So we're supposed to approve option one. Somebody want to do it? Basic, straightforward stuff.
There's more though. Can we do them all together? We want to do one.
We're just doing option one.
so option one would be to recommend or to approve amending the budget in those 6 items listed in the first table on page 1. The summary of the changes there would be included in that discussion section at the top of page 3. So the net impact of these adjustments, if they're all approved, would be to increase the capital budget expenditure by $58,401 to a total capital budget of $12,880,793. And the operating budget would be impacted in the following ways. The council program area expenditures budget would increase by $125,000. In finance, there would be an increase in expenditure of $267,863. And those two amounts would be offset by a revenue adjustment in the transfer from reserves and prior year surplus of $392,863. Which would leave all net operating budget and all approved tax rates unchanged from what was previously approved.
So that's if we approve option one. Somebody want to approve option one? Somebody want a second? Second. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much.